Hello and welcome to Between the Stacks, a podcast about libraries and library people. I am Anna Au. Today's story is about transformation, about growing yourself into something you aspire to be. It is my honor to bring to you the storyteller of this episode, Laurie Lu. Welcome, Laurie Lu. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and then your story?
Hello, I'm Laurie Lu. I am an AFAB queen. That means assigned female at birth. And I am the pioneer of Drag Queen Story Hour Mexico. And I currently work as a storyteller in Drag Queen Story Hour NYC. And my first interaction to Drag Queen Story Hour was actually here in NYC. I was just doing a show and a peer of mine invited me and I was really I didn't know what to expect. I just really like children because I've done babysitting work, nanny work, and I really do love children. So when I went there, it was fascinating in a way that I saw three things that I love. I love reading, I love children, and of course I love drag. When I saw that, it was a nice experience looking how the kids were interacting with each other, whether they understood each other or not, the parents. It was very family friendly and inclusive. And it really inspired me because just a little bit of a context in Mexico and throughout Latin America, the education system is not that good. Sometimes they lack some rubrics. They don't really inspire kids or the youth to read more, or they make it more like a task. And when I was exposed to the first time to Drag Queen Story Hour, it was a very organic way to inspire little kids, and not only little kids, parents to be part of the conversation, being conscious of which readings, which titles they expose them to. Then when I went back to Mexico, I really wanted to make it happen. I wanted as soon as possible. And it was a bit challenging. So I went into this contest to get a sponsorship with this university. Because like I said, in Mexico, the reading programs are not that popular. So public libraries is more for university students. They don't really expect people common people to really go reading hey, I want to read for fun. That's something that's not that common in Mexico. So I had to get a sponsorship from this university. And long story short, I did get it. It was a bit challenging. Most of it was paid by me. I was being broke until this conservative group, let's say that. His name is Jose Borrego, and he started doing a live, and he's trying to aim to this conservative political group. And he basically exposed me saying oh, this child is doing Drag Queen Story Hour. They're trying to corrupt the children. They're trying to do they call it gender theory and stuff like that. Trying to convert children, which is totally outrageous and that's not true. But after that, it became a big deal because this governor from my city, Monterrey, Nuevo León, started this public lawsuit towards me, and they also started blackmailing me. The lawsuit was publicly saying that I was corrupting the children, trying to make them I don't know, homosexuals, transgender or whatever, which still is nothing wrong. But then they were starting to blackmail me, saying that, oh, we're going to say that you're a pedophile, that you're crazy. And that was a bit terrifying. Now it's low-key funny story, but at that moment I was crying, I was terrified. But I have to say and admit and say thank you to my LGBTQ plus community, because they were the ones who came through. They were the ones who got me a lawyer. got me all the support that I needed. Because I did get a lot of discrimination. I got a lot of hateful messages. Even when they found out that I was a cisgender woman, they threatened me like, oh, you deserve to get raped or get, like violence. And my community had my back. They were the ones who literally defended me, and they went public like, no, we're going to fight against this. And thanks to this media marketing or whatever, we expanded throughout the country. I will invite everyone to check out the dragqueensstoryhour.org, and you can see all of our chapters in Mexico, which I'm very proud because it's a lot. It's almost all throughout the country. And we have seen a lot of experiences with our kids, because the main idea is I don't want any kid growing up and feeling like, oh, being myself is wrong, or it's like there's something wrong inside me. So we've seen the change with parents, kids, but the chapter that we are very proud of, and we are trying to bring kind of like a prototype, not only in Mexico, but now here that I'm working in Drag Queen Story Hour NYC, it's this mobile library. Because, like I said, in Mexico, education and even public libraries, they're not accessible. Education is more like for the wealthy, the better education, that means more money. And that's why we have a lot of dropouts, and a lot of people stop studying because they have to work. They're very, very poor. And in San Miguel de Allende, we had this prototype of the mobile library. So we made the connection with these very poor communities. And a statistic is to show that we have a lot of teenage pregnancy, and these mothers, after being exposed to the program, the teenage pregnancy decreased a little bit at 3%. But even the mothers who carry on with their pregnancy, they show desire to still keep studying, to learn more, and to even pursue like a degree. That's something that we're very proud, and we can see that it's actually changing. And it's a link between, okay, maybe education is not that accessible, but we have this bridge. And we believe that this can also decrease a lot of social problems in Mexico. For example, violence. In Mexico, like violence is a huge, huge problem. And one impact that we can see as well, this is quite recent. In Mexico, we just had like a march, kind of like Pride, but it was only for transgender pride. And recently we have been trying to touch that subject in Drag Queen Story Hour to include this. And with all the new policies, even in the United States, this also reflects how we treat transgender people in other countries. So we are trying to include that more in Drag Queen Story Hour. And I will share one little story with one of my kids and kind of like show how it impacts kids. I had this little girl that she was going to every Drag Queen Story Hour in Mexico. And she was like very normalized. She knew drag queens. She knew that it was like a man dressed up as a woman. And like she was very open-minded, and her parents too. And there was an incident that in her school, they asked them, what do you want to be when you grow up? And one of her classmates was like, oh, when I grow up, I want to dress up as a woman. And of course, the teacher was petrified. And this little girl, 6-year-old girl, was like, no, he can be whatever he wants, because it's okay. If he wants to dress up as a woman when he grows up, it's fine. And that's the type of inclusion we want. Because now this other kid will not feel like, oh, there's something wrong with me. It's okay to be me. And if I want to do this, as long as you're not hurting anyone, that's perfect. And this is the type of inclusion we want to build. More acceptance. And of course, inspire more kids to read. Because Even if you don't have a lot of access to expensive education, you can travel, you can master your skill and your craft by reading.
The LGBTQ plus community really came through for you in such a terrifying scandal, Lorilu. And I want to know, besides the scandal, what else did the lawsuit bring to you and Drag Queen Story Hour Mexico?
Thankfully, or maybe not, it backfired with the lawsuit because thanks to that, we were able to expand our exposure. I got into book fairs. We were invited to give conferences to different universities, and we got sponsorship. It actually was a good thing. Even though it was terrifying, I cried a lot. It did help us because now the government is actually giving us money. We are getting some other sponsorship. And currently, we're trying to expand to a bilingual setting in Mexico. So some kids are like exposed to the English language since, our neighbor, United States. And I think this is like great. It is helping us to expand and really inspire kids. Also, we try to cover themes. For example, March was International Women's Month, or celebrating women. Also like March 8th and Black History Month, which is a conversation that has been neglected in Mexico as well. They say that there's no discrimination, but it does exist. It's mostly about like correlating your skin tone with economic success, but still discrimination. So we were trying to include that into our books and really, really expand. And like I said, the mobile library is like one of our biggest aims and targets, since we saw that it changes not only like LGBTQ plus issues, it's also like health. We saw with these teenage girls, it can benefit their life. It can actually change them. Because before they had this mentality of like, okay, I just get pregnant and take care of kids and not really aiming for more, which is nothing wrong if you want to be a mother. But most of these girls, they didn't even know more. So basically they didn't have a choice. And now they do. Some of them, they want to be a nurse because we have this like partnership with this like public hospital, and of course is teaching how to be a nurse or a midwife most of the times.
The mobile library you mentioned gives people access to information to imagine a better and a healthier life they can have in the future and how to get there. These are all very positive impacts to the health of the community. When I say health here, I mean all aspects of health. That is physical, social, and mental well-being. This is an example of how access to information has a great impact on the decisions we make for our health. The projects of Drag Queen Story Hour Mexico, both the mobile library and also, of course, the Story Hour event, benefits the people who join in. That part is very obvious. So I am wondering the other side of impacts. And can you tell me about the impacts Drag Queen Story Hour on the drag community itself?
I think Drag Queen Story Hour brings a challenging but unique way to portray drag as an art form, like truly an art form. I cannot speak about the rest of the world, but in Mexico especially, it will be always taboo, or like it's an underworld. It's in the clubs and they always correlate like drugs and alcohol, not very nice things. And to put drag in a setting that is more like family friendly, accessible, we can show that drag is like any type of art. Yeah, there's art that is more like PG-13, but there's also art for kids, and it's a creative outlet